Hey everyone, welcome to Wild Women Wednesdays. I'm Farah,
And I'm Laura.
and today we are going to discuss friendship, which is do you like how my voice changed when I was thinking about it? Sorry, I gotta fix my bangs. The only thing that sucks about having bangs is that you're constantly fidgeting with them to make sure that they're like all in the right place, especially when you can see yourself. Um, this has nothing to do with friendship. It was just something that popped into my mind as we started recording, but one thing, yeah, so we're going to talk about friendship today. And Laura had actually brought this up as a potential topic, as something to be able to treasure and to really highlight. I think, especially within the human experience and within women, having a tribe and a collective group of women, especially, I think is so important to have in your corner to be able to support one another as we journey through life, which it's nice to be able to have a sounding board, someone to hype you up when you need it, and then also someone to bring you back down to earth when you need that as well, which is one of the many things that I appreciate about my friends is I can get a little uh, overly enthusiastic. And they can be like, all right, fair. What are we doing here? What are we doing and how you doing it? So we're gonna talk. So today we're gonna go through stages, right, Laura? We're gonna go through like childhood, high school, middle school, college, or those early adult years, and then really adult friendship and how they differ and change, and kind of the obstacles that come along with that, and the highs and lows of in between.
Yeah.
Who was your like? Do you have a childhood best friend?
Hmm. Childhood best friend. Um, yeah. I mean, I don't speak to them anymore, but definitely Brenna Dawson. She was my like elementary school best friend, lived fairly close. Yeah. Yeah, just like we got into trouble together, just like messing. I remember I learned not to put metal in the microwave with her.
It's like the one you were doing all the mischievous things
Yeah,
with, right? Yeah. And you
yeah.
found someone that was close by or lived next to you or like somewhere where you just would go hang out their house. Like that's what I loved about childhood friendships is like you just go like spend the night. Like you'd have sleepovers, you'd
Yeah.
sleep over and like get into like stay up all night, like
And dress
chatting.
up and play games.
Yeah. Oh, I know. My one of my best friends growing up, Heather Slumbush, um, who we used to always get made up for her name, and she I think it's by Heather Violet now, and we actually still stay in contact. We don't hang out anymore, but our families were actually really friends. And I think that was also a big part of it. It was like who your family was around, or like those kind of connections. Because I think then your younger kids, our moms were really close. They used to go out together and like hang out together too, which I think was really funny. I kind of forget that now, but yeah, and we'd play Nintendo 64 constantly. Like always would just be like hanging out, playing with our dogs. Like we were both really into Sailor Moon. So like Sailor Moon was very much like a conduit for like our friendship. Andrea Wilson as well. Shout out Andrea Wilson, Heather Slumbush. If anyone that went to our high school, we all went to high school together, like elementary, middle school, high school together, and we were all super close back then. So, and then like what happened? Like, what was that breaking off point? Do you remember, like, when you guys stopped hanging out as much?
I went to a lot of different schools growing up. So we went to school kindergarten to maybe even preschool to third grade. And then I changed schools halfway through third grade. And so we'd see each other every once in a while for the next few months, maybe next year. But then, yeah, next 3.5 years went to one school and then
Mhm.
moved. So moved cities and then didn't see them anymore at all. Remember, y'all, this is before social media. So yeah, that was just like, out of convenience, I think there's nothing in common. You don't go to school together anymore, so you just kind of fade away. So, and then living in a new city, yeah, just as you don't keep it up because again, you had to like, call and ask like, hey, is Brenna home? Like,
You
no
actually had to
social
call a
media
house phone.
people.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was like when you had to call a house phone and sit on like with a cord like close by or like somewhere nearby. God, that's so crazy to think about. We're like because we're like older millennials and like we actually remember back in the day when like you actually was like cordless phones were like really. I remember I went to Japan when I was younger in part Japanese, and we were visiting family, and I remember people walking around with cell phones, and I was like, Dad, how are they talking on their phones while we're like out and about, you know? I'm probably in like the third grade. And he was like, they're called cellular phones. And I was like, can I get a cellular phone? And he was like, it wouldn't work in America, so you can't get it because we don't have like the infrastructure. He would always like be playing with me. He's an engineer, so he'd be like, we don't have the infrastructure to do that, so you just can't have that there. And I remember I was like so upset. I still wanted one. I was like, well, can I just like have one to like play with, you know? And he was like, there's no point. There's really no point for you to get this. And I was like, all right, fine. But then they like he actually got one of the first cell phones, like the big block ones. Remember like the ones
Yeah.
that were, like the whole like side like kind of thing? He had one of those when I was younger. And a car phone, I think he got no, he didn't get a car phone. It was one of the big cell phones. So it was like right when they came out in America, I remember he was pretty hip to it and got one pretty early on. I digress, as I do. Anyway, so before
Yeah.
cell phones, before all of it, we, you know, had to stay in touch and like sitting on the phone and just like talking to friends. So,
Hmm.
you know, well, and like characteristics of this. So then you go into middle school, and then it's like, how do you make friends in middle school? Like, what are the things that like bond someone at that age? Like being in the same class, like
Yeah.
I feel like just like having like similar hobbies or like liking the same cartoons, which I guess is like, is it really that different than we are now? Probably not.
Probably not. Just stuck with each other.
Yeah. Because then you think of like, even as adults, like commonalities, like common hobbies, common things. You work together or you're around the same people. So then it's just like you naturally then just start spending more time with them and then kind of build a relationship or friendship from there. So,
I had the weirdest. So in middle school, I ended up with a best friend through most of middle school and high school. And it was because she was being bullied by one of our other friends. And
oh,
I
really?
wasn't friends with her, but I was friends with the bully. And one day I was just like, could you just shut the fuck up? Like, stop picking on her. Like, you treat her like a piece of shit. Like, go ahead and stop doing that. And it just like fell out of my mouth like word vomit. And so like she stormed off and the girl turned to me and just like looked at me and I was like, this doesn't mean we're friends. I just tired of hearing her shit. And,
Yeah.
and we were friends for like 6 years.
You're like, and then we became best friends.
Then we became best friends, but I was just like, I wasn't standing up for you. I just didn't want her to be talking anymore.
You're like, I just wanted her to stop speaking, but like, it doesn't mean I necessarily like you either.
Yeah. Again, Daria over here, right? Like, don't be a dick, but I'm not being nice to you either.
Which, but like, think about how the impression it probably made on her, though, is like to have someone stand up for her probably meant a lot. And she probably was really grateful for you and like probably what you represented in her life. Like, I'm sure she probably also remembers you standing up for her, funny enough.
Well, oddly enough, our relationship ended over her dad being really rude to me,
Oh,
like a
no.
misunderstanding, and her dad was super, super disrespectful. And I stood up to him. I was like, "No, you're not going to talk to me that way." And I never heard from her again.
Wow,
So
that's probably totally
interesting
true.
way to start a relationship with a bully and end it with a bully.
Yeah. Which also shows a theme in her life, you know?
Oh, he was the worst. Her dad was an awful person. I hope, they've rectified and they're close now, but he's a jerk.
Wow. That's unfortunate.
Yeah,
That's probably why she attracted friends that were treated her in a
jerks.
similar way, right? And it shows like I think those family dynamics play such a big part. Like and I now thinking about it, like my oldest friends, my day ones are definitely like my sisters who like taught me how to ride a bike and like we would play Barbies together and they would dress me up. We'd play what was it? This is actually not a game, which sisters, if you're watching this, you will know that this was not fair. I used to be the maid Fifi, and so Fifi the maid, and so then the game was I did all of the house chores. That was the
That's a
youngest.
good game.
I know, yeah, Fifi the maid, and they'd be like Fifi, Fifi, and then I would like they'd be like, "You're gonna go get us lemonade. Like this is the game we're playing, you know?" And I'd be like, "Okay." And so then I would like I would like carry everything on a tray, and I'd like bring it like, the sun tanning outside, and that was like the game. This is terrible.
Yeah,
It was so naive. I was like but I was kind of. I was the youngest one, and I just was like very. I just wanted to hang out with them, you know. I just wanted to be around them and
yeah,
spend time with them but yeah, very fond memories growing up of like hanging out with my sisters and still I'm close with them to this day. they
nice.
they mean a lot to me. So but like friendships, my one sister, Janae, you know who you are, was always the bully of the family though. And she used to always bully me when I was younger. But she told me, I remember we talked about this recently. She was like, I was trying to make you tough. Like, duh. Like, that's what I was doing. I was like, so you'd beat me up all the time? She's like, yeah. I wanted to
Yeah.
make sure if you ever got in a fight at school that you'd be able to stand up for yourself. And I want to say that she is right because I definitely, once I got older, like someone like tried to punk me and I was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I know how to stand up for myself. So it worked. It worked. The true Aries in her. I love her till the end. But I remember thinking about it when I was younger. I was like, why is she so mean to me, Mom? But I was also the baby, so then I would tell on them and be like, Mom, they're being mean. And then my mom would be like, stop being mean to your sister. Fight her about this one more time. Like, you can't tattle. Such a tattletale. You're such a tattletale. I was like, whatever, man. You guys are mean. You guys are rude. I'm like, look. Anyways, so first friendships that I remember was probably my sisters
Yeah.
and like my cousins and everyone growing up, and we were all really close and played together all the time. And then like school wise though, like switching into like school mode, I would say like Heather Slombush, Andrea Wilson and I, we used to all play games together as a kid. And then middle school came around, and it was like who was I was hanging out with. I think Heather was also friends with them too. We went into junior high, and I started hanging out with Lisejo. She was actually South African, and her mom was like a part of some like hierarchy like system or monarchy. Like she was like friends with the monarchy of South Africa, whatever that monarchy is. Like should know that this is, but anyways, they came from a really prestigious South African family, and she was a professor at Berkeley, and then they lived like across the street from my mom's place, and so we became super close. And she was so fun. We were both cancers. I always think of like what the astrology was looking back on it, just because I love astrology. And we were both cancer. She actually passed away, sadly enough. I'm still friends with her sister on Instagram, though, and we stay in touch. And I always send her a little bit of love. Yeah. And I just think of like, we would just laugh. I remember we used to always think, we were talking about Whitney Houston last time. She introduced me to Whitney Houston. I Want to Dance with Somebody. And I remember that was like her favorite song. And so we used to always like blare it and like sing it and like dance around the house. We did road trips together. I can't believe our parents let us do these things when we were so young. Like, I remember her mom, I think we were in maybe eighth grade, maybe eighth, maybe ninth grade. I think eighth grade. We took the train from Seattle to California to go to see our mom. So, like we did the overnight train and like stayed on it together, and then we took the train down and then stayed with her mom and like went out in California. I think that was one of the first times I went to California like on my own. And then I remember us like shopping and like going and buying things and like picking out stuff with each for each other and like picking out each other's outfits and um anyways, it just brings back really fond memories. I always hold her close to my heart as one of like my closest friends. My family really loved her too. We were always very close. So, but I would say like thinking of this, like, and maybe I just like also as a cancer have a hard time letting go. So, like, do you have friendships that like once you're friends with someone like super close with them, like was there always like a dividing point where like you guys outgrew each other, or when you stopped being friends, or were you always like still kind of friends but maybe just like faded away? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think, I don't, aside from the bullying, like dad,
Yeah.
not a lot of like abrupt endings. I think people just move and their lives change. My closest best friend in my 20s, she went down just a significantly different path of their life. Like we tried to, I think, remain close, and some of us tried harder than the other. But after uh, 3 children and a husband and all that, we have just not very much in common anymore. And so that relationship was a real bummer to me, for that to fade away, because once I stopped throwing baby showers and bridal showers and all that, there was no even like acknowledgement of the fact that it's like you haven't shown up in like a year and a half, and then 2 years and 3 years go by. And so those, fade away, but at the same time, it's like, is anyone paying attention? Like that just kind of,
Mm-hmm.
but as you have different interests, right? Like, am I really going to sit here and blame like a mom for being too busy and wanting, her life is homeschooling the kids and friendships around the children, and probably friendships that with other people that have children, right?
Mm-hmm.
So do we really even have much in common anymore? So not mom hating.
Yeah, no, not at all.
Not mom hating, but at the same time, like, so that one was a hard one just to fade away because it's like we're friends for since we were 15 years old.
Mm,
And so until about 3 years ago, and it's just like, okay, like you haven't even checked in to say hello.
yeah.
And but neither have I, because again, I got tired of being the one throwing all these parties and supporting and not getting anything back. So
Mhm.
it's hard. I heard once before the idea of like you should treat friendship like an ATM. Like
Mm,
you can make as many withdrawals as you want, but remember you're the one who puts the deposits in.
yeah. Mm.
So it goes two ways.
It's an equal exchange, I think, of energy, of time, of interests. It's like of love. I think friendships are just as important for like kind of showing that person that they matter to you. And like that can be as simple as giving them a call or text or just shooting them a message saying, I'm thinking of you and I love you. But as a mom that has gone down the similar road, it gets really hard to like keep up with everything, on top of like, you think of your spouse, that relationship, you're keeping up with that, you're keeping up with your career, and then you got baby, and then you throw that into the mix, multiple children. Like I haven't even gone down that road, so I don't even know how it gets when you have multiple kids, because that's like even more of a handful. And it's difficult, I think, especially once you get into adult friendships. It's like we have lives, we're trying to live and do the things. But I personally think it's so important to maintain those friendships, though, because like you can't just spend all of your time with your spouse, like
Or your
sometimes,
children.
or your children, like
You
some.
want some adults influence in your life, right?
Yeah, I want to have an adult conversation with another
Mental
adult.
stimuli.
Yeah, like I want to be able to talk about like my frustrations or like the good or the bad, and like with someone who like can like be there for me, in like a really like comforting way. And I was really grateful that my spouse was like really was my best friend. Like we were really really close. We were friends before we started dating, and so like we were always like I could talk to him about anything, and like we really could vent to each other and like really be supportive of one another, which I was always, one of the reasons why we got married and why we were together for so long. But girl time's just different, girl time's like I can go giggle with them about silly things. I can talk about my spouse with them, like I could say, like, or we could like reminisce about like the old days of like having fun and like what it used to be, and like, and even just like about life now and like how to support each other and be there for each other. And I just find it so valuable on so many different levels, and just it makes a well-rounded life to have girlfriends around. And then you think of as my child speaking, and then she starts crying. She's sleeping though. She can't even hear me. I don't even know why I'm doing that. It's okay. We can keep going. I think she's like dreaming, speak dreaming.
Yeah. Let's just keep ignoring your child. No, I'm glad you said that thing about being well-rounded because I always thought it's such a red flag. It's a question I ask on dates, and I know we talk about this, sprinkle it in every time we talk, but
Yeah.
if you're on a date with someone and they don't have a best friend or someone that is considered a very close friend, I think that's such a red flag.
Yeah.
And,
So,
it might sound gendered a little bit because maybe guys don't have that, but like if you don't have someone right now who would be like your best man at your wedding or even could identify a groomsman, that's a flag to me. Like you're living a life of solitude. You don't have that person to gab with and have that social aspect. Like, who are you going off and having fun with? Like, do you know how to have fun? Do you know how to like relate to other people? So I got, just want to throw that flag in there.
it's a true thing, and I think on both sides, hold on, let me go pat her on the back really quick. Speaking of mom life, this is real. All right, and I'm back. Bella had a poop, so we had to fix that. Which I'm happy she woke up and told me. We're in the middle of potty training, so it's like a thing that she's like trying to tell me when she like has to go. So grateful, because I would much rather her do that than pee all over her bed. So it worked out. Anyways, we are talking about red flags, and if guys don't have best friends, that's kind of a red flag.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really valid point, because it's like, okay, do you not have anyone close in your life that you have as like companionship, that you were there? But I think so much of it's dependent on parents. Like, did your parents have good friends that they hung out with? Did they loop in people? Like, what was the emphasis put on friendship when you were growing up? And I think some people deem it as important and while others don't. And but like you said, like I think having a well-rounded life, like having people around you that you trust and care about that aren't necessarily family and aren't necessarily a spouse or like romantic partner, I think is also like very important. At least I feel that it is important for my life without a doubt.
I'm glad you brought up the parent thing too, because I know I see my parents struggle with friendships and more my dad than my mom, but he has exclaimed to me before of like loneliness and frustration of friendships coming and going in his life or being feeling like the only one to reach out. And so it is interesting how I think we're touching on areas of childhood, high school and early adulthood, but I think as we will get older too, we see in our parents, like, yeah, how do you, if you did the family route, and you bonded with other people with families and then they're off to college. Well, who do you talk to then? Who are your friends then? And what do you have in common? If is it workplace friends? Is it shared interests and hobbies? Like, how do you continue to foster those relationships as we get older?
Hmm. Well, and that's like the part where I think as someone who's like newly single and lost a lot of friendships because of, separating ways, and now I'm no longer the married mom friend, and so like having to have like that kind of shift and like thankfully I've also like most of my friends, to be perfectly honest, half of my friends like have kids and are married and the other half don't. And so like and I've never and even one of my friends was like we had weren't hanging out as much and I just was getting wrapped up like life happens, and we've known each other since high school. We've known each other for years. And she was like, well, I just kind of thought like I wasn't married, I wasn't having kids, so like I just didn't think that like, we just didn't really have anything in common anymore. And I was like, I love you. And I
Mhm.
hope you know that I will always care about you. And if like
Yeah.
you ever want to reach out, now we do vacations together. So we'll do like a yearly vacation together where we'll schedule like a
Nice.
long weekend or something like a girls trip together. And so we'll do that together now. And I'm like, I'm always here for you though. And so like know that and that I think that that's what hopefully my friends know about me is like I will always be there for you no matter what, even if I don't necessarily. I'm terrible at calling people, I'm terrible about checking in, so I have to do it so much for work, so
Yeah.
I do it all the time for work. So it's like when I think about my friendships, like I try to remember, and like definitely for birthdays and like major events and things like that I'm very on top of it. But like when it comes to just like popping someone in my mind, like that's why I actually enjoy social media, is because then I get to kind of keep up and like I will actually engage
Yeah.
and I'll be like, oh, here's this, let me send you a meme, or like I'm thinking of you, you matter to me, and I hope you know that I like care. Or if there's some major life event or something's recently happened, or they're like I was really sick, and I'm like then I'll like have that in top of mind and I'll be like, hey, are you feeling better, so like that'll be like what crosses my mind. But there was definitely a couple years where I felt like I was a really shitty friend for a lot of people, and that's because I was so wrapped up in like work. Like I just had gotten married, work, and then like just like creating a life with a partner, and like that alone, I get tend to get like looped in with work more than anything else. And it's hard, I think, as adult friendships, because then you do spend so much time with people that you're like with on a day-to-day basis. So like I'm talking all day to like my coworkers, or I'm out doing fun stuff with them. So I don't really like think about reaching out to people, especially if they live, like a lot of my best friends live in different cities, different places. They're all over. And so none of us are like, I can't, like I miss the days, especially like college, like when I would just like go to my friend's house and like chill on their couch and be like, hey, what are you doing today? And she's like, nothing. I'm
Yeah.
like, sweet, I'm coming over. I'd probably bring a bottle of champagne and I would like shop at her house and be like, I'm hanging, what do you, let's hang out today. And she's like, okay. And we would like, or we go do errands together, and it's like, what do you gotta do? I'm like, oh, I gotta go to Target at some point. Okay, cool. And so like I would go with them and we'd like walk around the store together. And I think those are the moments, maybe this is part of my quality time love language, is that like those are things I just like enjoy doing with people. And I don't feel like I do them anymore because I have so much other stuff. Like I have so many other things that are filling that space, but those are like the moments where I really cherish those times with people.
Such a hard time when like, if you went to college, that you lived and studied and
Mm-hmm.
your whole life, you lived around all your friends. Like, that was such a hard transition for me to graduate and leave college, was because it's like you could just do that, pop over, and everyone was like, yeah, everyone needs to go to Target, so let's all go. And like everything was done with each other, and everyone had the same deadline, so everyone's like at the library together, and it's just
Yeah.
like your whole life was in a community. And maybe that's why communes are so popular and still exist, because like that's so great. Like you live and breathe and do everything with your friends all day long. And so that isolation, I felt an insane amount of isolation graduating from
Hmm.
college and having to move home and you know um, go back to high school friends who didn't go off to college. And so we had even less in common, even though I'm back. And then working and being around other people, and trying to foster those relationships. And it's like, it's just so different when you don't live with hundreds of other people all in the same phase of your life.
Yeah. Well, and that's how it was set up for so many years though. Is like each stage, like you think of it, like we were all kind of doing the same stuff, and the people that
Yeah.
weren't doing the same things or like were going through the same like, life transitions, like they kind of were left behind, or people then like you were building bonds with people that were having similar life experiences with you at the same time. And I think that that's common and consistent, and I think it still is the case to even an adult friendship. But now, like, there's not such these like hard and fast, like hard stops and starts anymore, like now it's like life is just happening. And so then you have to find other things that link you together. And and that can be a whole, like, plethora of different types of things. And I think now it's more or less like, I've always been really fortunate to like, I remember going through like yoga teacher training and then like meeting a lot of like fellow yogis through that. And like also just being in the yoga community as a teacher now is like being able to sync up and have friendships with other teachers or other students that, are going through similar things or at least have similar values. And I think that's like the bonding agent now, or the binding agent now, is like values, kind of like life perspective, and then like, but I still think location still plays a huge part in
Yeah.
that too.
So for your current friend groups, what role do you play? Like,
Mm.
each of us kind of step into a mode and role, and maybe you're someone different to each of
Yeah.
your friends, but what do you think is primarily your role in your friendship group?
I kind of want to ask them what they think my role is, but I'm
Call them up.
I feel like Tor. Like, I think it depends on the friend. Like, I definitely am like the confidant. I'm like the one that people have always just like shared a lot with me. So I tend to be the non-judgmental listening ear. I'm like the one where like if things are like crazy, I'm the one that like people are gonna call and be like, "This happened," and I'm just gonna be like be able to be there and listen. Because it's like I would never, and they know that I would never judge them or like look down upon them for whatever's going on. So I think that's definitely like a role that I play. I'm definitely like the fun one. So like if someone wants to go on an adventure or
Do
just
that for you.
yeah, like that's like, let's go do this. I'd be like,
Yeah.
yes, yes, and yes. And like, I'm already there. I just booked my flight. We're going. So like, I think that's definitely like a part of who I am. And then definitely like the one where you just like call and is like, and I'm just gonna talk about like random stuff. And I'm just gonna like kind of, but I'm still very, I'm very authentic. I'm very true to me. So like most of my friends I've known for years and years, and so then they're like, they know that they can like, I'm still gonna be the same old girl that they like knew back then, and I'm just gonna like shoot it to them straight. We're gonna have like an honest, raw conversation, and it's gonna like, and I'm gonna love them, and I'm gonna encourage them. I'm gonna remind them of their potential, and I'm gonna tell them to go get them, Tiger. Like you're good. So I think that that's what they would say about me. I'm definitely like I think of like when I was just down in San Diego visiting one of my girlfriends, Maggie, who I met in college. And, same thing. Like, we both got married within a year of each other. She started having kids earlier. She's got two boys, and then she moved states. So then she's like really close. She's got like a solid group of girlfriends down there that she's like really close with that are like, mutual friends of her boyfriend's friends. Or her husband's friends. That's like a whole thing. So then, like, when your husband's friends with people, and then you got to be friends with their wives. So then you got the friends of like the friends' wives, and then like your own friends who are also like then wives, and then you have to be friends with. It was just like, it's really hard to keep track of. Anyway, but when we were down there, and I'm also like, we if we talk about Maggie and I's friendship, we would have the most fun together. Like, we were known for that. And so like when we got together and we didn't have kids, it was like, are you ready for what today's about to bring?
Nice.
And she was like, oh yes, and I am so ready. And I was like, dun, 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 zana, 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 zana. So we had a really good time together. And so and we just like, I think we're both very go with the flow, freedom oriented, like live in the moment. So people think I'm living the moment. She is like live in the moment to like, she just naturally is living the moment. So then I remember even I was like stressing about something and I was like, ugh, and I was like so annoyed. And she was just like, will you just be present? And I was like, and this is why you're my friend, because you tell me things when I need to hear them. Because I was like, anyways, if it's a long story short, those like little cabs, like the guys on the
Oh
bike,
yeah.
like get in like the little like, what is it? What's the thing on the like? It's a not a wagon. Is it a wagon? No. Anyways, you know what I'm talking about. They call them petty cabs down there, and the guy didn't tell me the amount before we got to, and so then he dropped us off and he was like $100. This was like 4 blocks. I was like, and our feet were just hurting because we had already walked pretty far. And when before we started walking, the guy told me $60 for both of us, and I was like, even that's a lot. So then when we like walked like quite a bit of a distance, and then we got another one, I was like, cool, this will probably be like $40. So like I'll pay $40 for us to like just get there and like beat the crowds and like be able to get to this bar that we're trying to go to. So I did that, and then he said $100, and I was like, whoa, this makes no sense at all. So then I start negotiating because I'm not just some like little pushover. So I'm like, excuse me, if we talk about this, we actually started at this amount, and then I know we went a distance, and then he was like, well, this is the amount, and I was like, you did not communicate this amount to me before we got into the car, so this is still up for negotiation, and I think you and I both recognize that. And so I was like, I will give you this amount, but I'm not giving you a dime more, and if you charge my card for more, I will dispute it. And he was like, I think he just thought I was drunk or something, and I was like, no, very aware of what's happening right now. So then he tried. So he's like, fine, but just so you know, and like he like tried to get me talking to him. Anyway, so after that, I'm a little disgruntled. I'm a little annoyed at that point. I'm like, I can't believe that guy just tried to pull that on us. Blah blah blah. And then that's when she was like, will you just be present? Like we're here now. We got here. We're having fun. Like let's just go have a good time. Like why are we worried about the stupid patty cap guy? And I was like, and I'm normally that person, I think, for a lot of people. And I was
Yeah.
like, you are right. And this is why I love you. And that is like letting it go. We're going to let it go and we're going to keep rolling. And so then we like continued on. But I think that, anyway, so I think of different people, different friendships. And like the role I play, I think depends on what dynamic I have within them. Um, but I'd say that's probably pretty consistent. But she always knows. But nonetheless, Mags and I have a great time together. And anyone that was around us, we went out another night. We didn't plan to go out the second night. And I was like, I won't go into details about what happened that night. Nothing bad, but it was unexpected. And then we were talking to one of the girls. There's like a mutual friend that we ended up going out with, and she was like, she'd never met me, so like this is all first time I've met her. Then Maggie, they've only seen each other at like baby showers, so she was like had no idea. And so then we go out with her, and she's like, oh my god, she was like, I honestly had like one of the best nights of my life with you guys last night. Like what happened? And we were like, yeah, you just didn't know what you were in for, did you? It's like this is the Maggie Farrah combo. It's just a wild combination. But so yeah, I think it depends on what mood I'm in, what environment I'm in. But I think one of the things I miss and what I cherish the most about friendships is just being able to be real and to be comfortable, in my own skin and just be all of who I am with that person. And I think that that's really keeps us grounded and keeps us, on the straight and narrow and makes us realize. I think that's when people get older or when people are around a ton of people that don't really know them or they feel like they can't be honest, like, and they feel like the relationships they're fake or they're superficial. It's like, I think that really wears on people's souls. And I think when you have a solid group of friends, it's like, that's what makes a huge difference just in our sanity and well-being even. What role would you say you play, Laura, within your friend group?
I'm definitely like the advice person. So if there's something that needs advice, or like, yeah, I'd say advice. I was gonna say, or like help processing like what's going on, but that's really advice too, right? So, um,
Venting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, venting and it's hard for me to be like just let people vent too. So I'm like, okay, that's a good boundary question lately. It's been like, okay, do you want to just vent or do you want some action steps out of this
Yeah,
conversation?
the inner coach in you is like,
Yeah.
so do you want some guidance on this? Because I can
Yeah.
really give you some concrete steps on how to move forward.
And let me know accountability. You're like, am I checking back in a few days on this? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's definitely one that's, often that's what happens with, a group of I'm close with now is that, calling for advice or just to digest and share their day.
Mhm.
So I like, and that I like doing that. I like that being who I am in my friend groups.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you're, I think, providing value and like you can give to them in some way. It's like how you show them you love them. Oh, I think I froze. Um, so I know how, and so who are your probably like core group of friends and how now and how were they made up or who are they and how did you meet them?
Yeah, I'd say my closest group of friends all came out of work, which is, interesting because I think, yeah, they definitely relationships have evolved and, um, yeah, very much. There's five of us who try to get together once a month, and we've all worked together. And now most of them work together and I don't work with them. Two of us don't work with them and three work together, excuse me. So, it's nice that we're all staying connected and finding things to talk about and share that's not just work, but definitely got bonded because we all worked in a male dominated industry and we're, five women managers in
Mm-hmm.
a group of 400 men. And so, that really, really bonds you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
Common thread, like you're probably experiencing the same like issues, the like same like challenges, right? And like how do you support each other in those?
yeah, yeah. So it's nice that we're still staying kind of connected and, interwoven. So it's really lovely. Yeah.
Hmm. You know, but yeah, I was like my probably core group of girls, most of which I've met in college. I would say I definitely have some close high school friends. One of my best friends, she's like my sister, is my friend Tori, who I've known since middle school, and we were inseparable. We actually lived together, and like I think we calculated this at some point. We had not spent more than like a week apart from each other for like 7 years or
Oh,
something crazy
wow.
like that. Yeah, so we'd go on vacations together. We had all this, like, we were friends in high school and middle school, and then also went to college together. She was my roommate in college. So then we had all the same college close friends, and so then we were like really close throughout. So like like common denominator is like definitely us, and then we've always been really close because of that. And then even now to this day, she's the godmother of Bella, so she's also like yeah, very much involved in my life, and actually was such a huge support system for me during the divorce, and just so supportive of me, and I was so grateful for her during that time, because a lot of people just didn't know what to do with it. A lot of people were surprised. It was really interesting to see how people responded to that, or just people wanting to hear the gossip and like, but weren't really there checking in with me afterwards.
Yeah.
And she definitely was one to like check in, see how I'm doing. She lives out in over by the gorge, so then she would like they have a vacation house out there, and so during COVID they just ended up moving in there, and so like then I would go over there and spend weekends with her, and she's like, just come hang out. Like, seems like you need to get away for a couple days, and I'd be
Nice.
like, I do. And so and then we would just talk, and she'd like super understanding. Like, she knows how I'm feeling without me having to say it, so I'm always very grateful that she kind of knows where I'm at. I swear we're telepathic. At this point, we probably are, because we have been around each other for so many years. Like, I can give her a look, or we just are similar. We're very similar. We're really different, but we're really similar. And so I can just look at her, and she's gonna be like, mm-hmm. And then I'm like, and then we just like, but I like know her through and through, and she knows me. And yeah, she was just so loving. I was so grateful. And she's not the most lovey-dovey kind of person, to say the least.
Yeah.
But she was just really like, in her own way, very, very, very hands-on, and very like just really caring and supportive. And I am infinitely grateful for her, and that's for sure. Like, I think, and we went through our hard times. Like, we stopped being friends for a couple years, We gotten in a couple huge battles and just fights. And we just grew up really different. So then we were just like, and she thinks she's right. I think I'm right. We still, that's still the case. But we are now more receptive to hearing each other's opinion
Yeah.
and not really trying to impose our opinion on one another. I think that that's the point we've gotten now is like, I don't know best, you don't know best. We're like gonna be able to talk about it together and like love each other through it instead of like, I think the judgment's been like officially removed from our friendship, and that's just really an open forum for us to just be able to be ourselves and be safe. And I am really grateful for that with her. And she knows I can, you know, we might take some shrooms together and have a real deep talk about life. And so there's going to be no judgment about that either. I don't know if she wants me to share that online, but sometimes it happens. So yeah, I think she's definitely one of my closest friends, Mags. She's far away, but she just will always hold a special place in my heart. One of my best friends, Shannon, who's also from high school. She's like one of my best friends for life. We don't speak as much, but she's the one that like I'll go on random vacations with. And she's just a ride or die. She's always been there for me. She's always stood up for me, and she's just a really solid person and friend. Um, and then, I have a few others from high school and middle school and college that, we all run in the same circles. We're always going to be friends. They're always going to be close with me. I'm always going to look out for them. I'm always going to care about them. They're always going to be important to me. But I would say that's my core. My friend Kobe, who joined in too, she's been really there for me during. I went through a really big shift after the divorce because I had to really evaluate who was around me and like who was going to be by my side during that. And I was, I was struggling. It wasn't easy. And so I think people that were willing to kind of step out of their comfort zone. Um, and I think I triggered a lot of people because I was like, I'm living my own life. I'm not giving zero fucks. I'm doing what I want. Like, I'm leaving. I'm doing this. Like, all of you guys can disagree with me. And I've always been on the rebellious side. So I was like, I'm doing this and there's nothing anyone can do about it. So,
Yeah.
let me be. And so I think they were just like, are you okay? Like, is everything else going fine? And so I think people cared. They wanted to be there, and everyone's gonna shoot it to me straight because that's how my whole friend group is. And so it was good. And yeah, I'm just really grateful. And so, like, at the end of that, and now to have the friendships and to still be bonded with that core group, I realized that I'm just really grateful. And I've met some new friends too. Like, Bianca's a new friend that joined us last week. That I've been hanging out with for the past year, and she's just really rad, and I just really enjoy being her company. Like, I'm grateful for you. I feel like we always get together and just have really great conversations and like are able to like be there for each other and encourage one another. And even just starting this podcast was like a whole thing, too. So, and I got my friends at work that are like my ride or dies that I can have fun with. And so I'm really fortunate. I guess I just feel what I'm trying to say. So
Now you just showed up.
I was like, I have friends that are like span different areas of my life, and I'm just
Yeah.
really grateful for all of them because like they all play a part in me like being rooted in who I am and like safe to be who I am and loved. Like I feel very loved, and I'm very grateful for that in a time where like I lost the love of my life. And that was really strange for me. And we were together for over 12 years. So like you lose the main source of love in your life, and you're kind of like, well, what the hell am I going to do now? And
Yeah.
so to have all the people in my life now is like, I'm just so like, I'm indebted to all of you for keeping me sane during a really transformative time in my life.
That's lovely. That's sweet. I'm glad you shared that.
And I'm sorry, I was like, and here I am. Sorry, I was like, that's probably it. But I was just trying to think like, is there qualities within friendships? Like what makes a friendship to you? Like what makes it important? Like what stands out when you meet someone? Like how do you know if they're like your people kind of thing?
Well, it's hard to tell, but I was shopping for a gift for one of them um once and came across this wine glass, and on it was like a stupid saying. They print everything on those, like on mugs and wine glasses, but basically it was like, I knew we were friends because when I met you, I thought I hated you, or something like so stupid like that, because it's like the catty girl thing, right? So I know that one of them, like, we joke because she like legitimately the day we met, I did totally give her like this RBF, like resting bitch face, this fuck you look. Because she like it was introduced to me in the workplace in a way where it was like she's like the shit. And it was like my second week there. And I was like, who is this bitch stepping in my territory? And
Yeah.
like, who are you? And now we're so close. And it's just so funny because, you know, I have a look like that. That says, And so anyway, just a stupid story about that. But
Yeah, there you go.
you know, somebody who can give you the benefit of the doubt, right? Like I do move through the world with, I think, a hard exterior. So somebody who's like, um, you know, an advocate for you, a confidant, you know, who can really see, um, you know, the light you bring into the world, and that's reciprocated too. Again, about that like ATM analogy, but you know, that's something as I've grown older, I've realized like, yeah, I'm a big giver to my friends, like to be there for them and like wanting to know, like, is that returned? Is it reciprocated?
Hmm.
And, you know, that's kind of sounds self-centered or selfish because you should, you know, give freely of yourself. But at the same time, if you're looking around and in a time just like you shared of like need and wanting love and needing love, and it's like, okay, like, you know, are you there? You know, or is it only in your crisis that I'm useful to you, or valuable to you? And so, you know, I think that that's important. So people who are open to adventures is really nice too. You know, getting to have travel buddies. We've talked about solo travel
Yeah.
as a necessity and a choice. But you know, so somebody pours back into your cup,
Yeah. I think
you
100%.
hold space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That you feel safe with, that you can be, um, that holds space for you in a loving, compassionate kind of way. And I definitely, I can definitely relate to that. I think agree 100% on all the different levels. And actually, I was talking to a guy friend about this, and he was talking about the importance. He was older too. He's older, and he was like, it's that the what was it? No, and this is why I remember messing this up. It's like the equal exchange of energy and time. And he's like, I recognize as like I've gotten older and like, I think he's still single. And so then he was like, if you're not giving as much to me as I'm giving to you, and I just like that's consistent within our friendship or our
Mhm.
relationship, then it's not working for me because I want someone that's going to give just as much as I'm going to give. And I'm a giver, and I am too. So I was like related to that, and I was like, that is totally a thing because you want people that show up for you,
Yeah.
that are there when you need them, and then loving, like, cheerleader kind of way, not in a judgmental boo, like what, like, like boohoo, like life sucks, get over it,
Yeah.
and so it's like it's nice when you have someone there that's gonna like be able to listen, be a listening ear, and also remind you of your potential and your worth. And then those are the people that you want to keep in your court. And but it's also the people that just simply show up. It's like
Yeah.
if I'm doing the things, and like, I really, that's what this past year, because I don't know if I was always the best at showing up before, because I was just like new, like the first year of being a mom, it's just like a fucking whirlwind. You're just like, I don't even know what's going on. I haven't slept for like 3 weeks. Like, I don't even know what day it is really. Like, I'm just like trying to keep my head on straight. And I'm just trying to shower. At some point, I'm just trying to get a shower, and like that's my main objective. Like, it's like survival. I feel like you go back into survival mode,
Yeah.
the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like, you go right back down to the basic level because you're just trying to get through it. And I do think there was a period of time where I was like, didn't. Like, I was trying to do my best, and also was like, starting a new career. Like, lots of different things happen at different times, and so like I was always just trying to get my bearings. And
Yeah.
we bought a house, we moved a couple of times, and so there was like a bunch of things that were going on. And and I think your own mental well-being plays a huge part in that. How much do you have to give is probably how much you really have is stored in your own banks to be able to deposit into other relationships. And taking care of yourself, I feel like that relationship with self is, I think, the most important one, because when you're refilling up your own cup, then you're able to show up for the people in your life. And so I think once I started doing that, once I really started taking the time to refill up my own cup, then I was like, okay, like I really need to make sure I'm giving to my other relationships. Like, who are the most, like, I remember like writing down, like, who are the most important people in my life, and do they know that they're the most important people in my
Yeah.
life? like, do they even know? Because maybe they don't, you know? And then I just felt like a shitty person. But then I was like, no, I'm not gonna feel shitty. I'm just gonna like try to be better, you know? I'm gonna try to show up for them. I'm gonna try to call them more often. I'm gonna try to text them. I'm gonna try to tell them that they mean a lot to me because they do, you know? And even if I don't always show it, I hope that they know it. And so that's why I just try to go above and beyond now to do that because I recognize there's a period of time where I probably wasn't doing that as much as I should have. So it is but yeah, I think those are those friendships. I was talking to who was I talking to? I can't remember it. Oh, I was talking to these two girls that were in college that work at the studio, and they were in a part of a sorority, and they just had split off from the sorority, and they got their own house, and so then like they're kind of navigating that whole process of like, okay, like who's the girls in the sorority and who are like I'm close with. She said she hurt her finger. I don't believe her. But hold on, I will address this. Be right back. Poop round two, and we're back.
So, in light of kind of how we've been talking about recognizing and celebrating our friendships and those great people close to us now, we have a fun exercise.
Yes.
We love homework. So I found a 10 minutes to celebrate a friendship journaling exercise that I wanted to share. Um, I found it from a woman named Christy Zimmer. And so what she produces content, a lot of journaling prompts, um, and just easy, like grab free printable type content. So I really like this one. So you can do it in any format you want, but you start out with date it, your friend's name, share the story of how you met,
Mm-hmm.
things you do together,
Mm-hmm.
3 words to describe your friend. You could do more if you want. 3 words to describe your friendship. Again, you could do more if you want. And then share and journal about one recent adventure with your friend that you'll always remember with a smile. Oh,
I love that exercise. I know when you sent this over to me, Laura, I was like, how great would this be to obviously do on your own and just like, you know, be in that gratitude mindset of the people closest to you in regards to them. Because I think, you know, it's easy to focus on aspects of friendships that maybe that aren't going so well or maybe things you don't like about it. But it's like, and that can be any relationship, but like shifting that mindset into things you're grateful for, I think brings us from a place of appreciation.
yeah.
Um, instead of resentment or you know a lot of other emotions that can drum up. But then I was like, how great would this be? I love writing notes. I'm a big note person, and so I was like, how great would this be to like write a little note to them and like share like the moment of like you know that made you smile, or just like remind them of like a recent adventure, or, like remember when this happened, and like just like you know, and they'll probably know. You can be an inside joke, you know, kind of quickly within the note, and just like know that you always make me smile and I'm grateful for you, you know. And I think it's just a great way to send someone love and appreciation and remind them that they do mean a lot to you.
Yeah.
Aw. Well, thank you for suggesting this topic, Laura. I'm happy that we got to talk about it, and I hope it prompts all of you guys to think about friendships within your life and kind of how those are getting shaped and you know what they're rooted in and the qualities of friendships that you're trying to cultivate, and hopefully that helps you know gravitate your core circle around you so that you can feel love and supported from the people in your life and in all facets, knowing that they're your ride or dies, as I always like to call them.
Well, thanks for joining me on this journey. So, what is your love song?
My love song this week. Oh, do I dare even say it? I am. Uh, I'm having a week of ovulation, actually, perfectly honest. And so
Okay.
this week I is Strawberry Kisses, which is like when I actually added it to a bunch of playlists, and it makes me happy. But Sorry. I never thought it would taste so sweet. Talking my language, but secrets we should probably keep. A flashback's flooding through my mind. What we don't even talk about. Anyway, so it's kind of like a cheeky song that is just kind of playful and it has a great beat to it. And it's just all about having little kisses and like craving that love and affection, which instead of me trying to seek that outside of me, giving it to myself and reminding me that I am a sweet treat for myself too.
Nice. Love that.
What's your love song this week?
The new album by the 1975 came out this week, and
Oh,
so been jamming to that. And they have a song called Happiness. So that's my song this week. So some of the lyrics that resonate are I'm happiest when I'm doing something I know is good. I'm happy. That's happiness for me. I'm happiest when I'm doing something that I know is good. So she showed me what love is. I'm acting like I know myself. Oh, in case you didn't notice, I would go blind just to see you. I'd go too far just to have you near in my soul. Got this feeling I didn't know until I seen you. I think, that's just a kind of a sweet, sweet commitment song about happiness. And yeah, looking for it.
I love that. That's so sweet. As always, thank you for being here. All of you listening in, thank you for having this conversation with us and listening. And, if you have any feedback or thoughts on friendship and what really jumps out to you and what's important to you within the friendships in your life, we would love to hear about it and just continue the conversation. Either if that's on social media, you can find Laura and I both on Instagram. I'm Rituals with Farrah, and Laura is.
Coach with Laura,
Yeah, and then we also both have websites. Also, Rituals with Farrah for me, and
laurabiddle.com.
exactly. Send us your input. Let us know what you think, and yeah, what are qualities of friendship that really jump out to you? What's important to you, and or maybe even a fun story about you and one of your ride or dies that you can that makes you smile. We'd love to hear it. All right, see you later.
Bye.